Hello and welcome to the Full Force Weekly, proudly brought to you by Battle Action Force, the Treasury Editions. I am your host, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostic 80. In this episode, I bring you all the news from the past week in the world of G.I. Joe. So what is it, me? It's the Full Force Weekly. Yes, we are back. It's only been about a week, hasn't it? My goodness, I haven't got anything done this week at all. Sorry, guys. It's been a bit quiet in the old live stream department, and yeah, we will definitely be trying to make amends for that this coming week. How is everyone doing? Hope you're having a good Saturday, September the 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern-ish. So we've got news. Obviously, we've got loads of news. We've got comics news today. We've got loads of comics news, actually. Some fun stuff to talk about as well, like really interesting, cool lost issues. We've got previews of Cold Slither. We've got obviously the new issue of The Real American Hero is out this week. So we've got all that to talk about. We've got loads to get stuck into as well outside of the comics. Obviously, NYCC panels announced, always really interesting. I'm going to obviously be aiming to be attending those particular panels and all that kind of stuff. So that is my aim, just like last year, to make, or last time. I can't remember the times I've been to New York City for these things now off the top of my head, but I think I was there last year. I was there earlier this year, right? I can't remember. It all just merges into one now. Either way, Simon says, looking at that beard, I nearly flicked some spare change your way. How dare you? It's just because it's got a bit of grey in it now, just from all the stress. Look at all the extra stress that's going on. That's crazy. But yeah, it's funny. It's like thinner down the sides, but I need to fully shave, to be fair. Yeah, so we've got loads of that to get into, and then loads of other elements as well regarding Classified. We've got inputs from Lenny that he posted. We've got Newport arrivals, stuff to expect starting to come in. We've got loads actually to get into, and of course not so great positive news as well. Of course, when we're talking in the pricing department, nothing confirmed as yet, but it's looking that we might probably see our first price increase. Certainly not a pay increase, price increase with regards to figures, but we'll get into that as well today, so you'll have your opportunities to have all these conversations. Have no fear. We'll start then in Comicsville. Yeah. Yeah, so like I said, lots of cool stuff to get stuck into regarding comic updates. And we'll start, of course, with A Real American Hero issue 320, which dropped this Wednesday, gone, of course, this week. And that obviously had the ninja team of Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Jinx, Scarlet, and is there anyone else in there? And Dawn, escaping Cobra Island. We also, obviously, technically at Cobra Island, I believe Molto and some other characters stuck in a Muskrat as well, right? Yeah, Molto, Muskrat, maybe Wetsuit. I can't remember who else is in that team. But anyway, there was another team there that was kind of providing support. I think it was it Muskrat, Wetsuit, Molto, and Bomb Strike, maybe? I can't remember who's in that the other team now. Completely forgotten who's in that team. Either way, it was the teams escaping Cobra Island under extreme obviously duress, with the Cobra forces literally trying to stop them as they were getting out. And yeah, an action-packed issue, lots of fun, and then a very interesting end. Oh, was it Helix? Thank you, Simon. It was Wetsuit, Helix, Molto, and Wetsuit, Helix, Molto, and Muskrat, right? Or have I added Muskrat? Because there's two dudes with boonie hats. I think it's Muskrat. Yeah, it's Muskrat. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all of that. Moray is in this one a lot for all those people that are expecting a Moray next year in the HasLab. That would be kind of cool. I would love that. In any case, there's some interesting kind of like vehicles that show up in this particular issue, including the water moccasin, but that sort of like silvery blue and red version that came out like kind of later, much later in the line. I love the fact that I have a feeling that Diana throws in Diana Davis. Shout out to Diana Davis, that she throws in these little kind of requests sometimes to get some like obscure redecos into the issues. But it's really cool. Yeah, so yeah, and like I said, a very action-packed issue of them basically escaping Cobra Island. So it's all action, lots of fun, and then right into the final part of the issue, which I won't go into too much detail with, but effectively, Dawn and Snake Eyes are pulled aside by Stalker for a very interesting comment that's made in there about new weaponry that they're testing out. But anyway, I'm sure all will become clear in the future. And of course, this is a Real American Hero. This has nothing to do with the Energon universe. Let's be very clear about that. So it wouldn't be anything, related to that particular universe. In any case, very cool, and I'm loving a Real American Hero. I'm loving all the comics at the moment, honestly. But I'm very into that. Diana, hello. She says, sometimes I do. Quite often, it's Larry who likes to scan through 3D Joes and choose vehicles or characters he rarely uses. That's really cool insight. Thank you, Diana. What did RKW catch? Just the Moray. Yeah. Bad Wolf Media says, I think I said this last week, but assuming the Moray is what we get, I want Tier 3 to be Captain Mean and Thatch Decor to make his Finnish boat. Interesting. He does that because he knows there's a fan for every vehicle and people like seeing new things regarding Larry there, says Diana. Awesome. That's really cool, actually. I'm really... It's nice to know that he does that kind of stuff. And he kind of looks for some interesting, different sort of things to kind of include. Because, like I said, it's one thing to have a water moccasin in there, but it's another thing to have a random redeco from the 2000s in there. I think it was one like that. Maybe I can't remember what it was released in. I can't remember what it was released in. Anyway, oh, you meant fishing boat, Bad Wolf Media. I thought you meant like he had a boat from Finland, specifically a Finnish boat, but that would have been two ends, I think, wouldn't it? Anyway, yeah, I get what you're saying. That would be kind of fun. So yeah, there you go. Issue 320 is out right now. Go get it. It's awesome. Right then, next we have a preview, another preview of the Cold Slither issue. Now, the Cold Slither issue, we've known about for ages. We've known it's been coming for a long time. We've had one preview already for it, so we've had some of the pages already revealed. This particular preview gives us a couple more pages, which is kind of cute. Three more pages. And we get a look at Ripper. Hector Ramirez makes an appearance in this. He's kind of going around interviewing the members of Cold Slither one by one, seeing them like after the fact sort of thing. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's cute, it's silly and fun, and it's going to be a one-off side thing. It's not going to be anything that's related to any of the universes, that's for sure. But I do like this. It's fun, and it kind of continues that. Well, I say continues that Cold Slither thing from like the theme of the year, which will be going into New York Comic Con as well, which we'll talk about later. That cover on the left-hand side is Simon Beach, cover A. It is a very beautiful cover, very awesome, very kind of, I don't know, just very, very Cold Slither. I like it a lot. But yeah, and then the issue obviously is Hector Ramirez interviewing both Ripper and his wife, is it Stephanie, I think, and then Torch, who still plays in a wedding band. I say plays, it looks like he's just trashing the drum set, which is kind of fun there as well. But in any case, that is another preview of the Cold Slither comic. Now this is obviously Tim Seeley, Juan Cabal, Rex Locus, and Pat Brosseau in an all-new G.I. Joe one-shot on sale in October, and you can pre-order it from your local comic store right now. We also have all of the covers as well, the covers that they've shown. The cover A, Steve Beach one, which we just looked at a second ago, very nice indeed. Cover B by Juan Cabal, which is the kind of like almost like the Queen Bohemian Rhapsody style, although it's not really. It's more like them in just quarters of the page, just the kind of straight on face shots. Kitty said, and then of course we have cover C, which is Brent Schoonover, and that is again a very detailed, highly album art graphic sort of style, more comic-y though, more draw, like, you know, more kind of fun and more sort of like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's not as album covery as cover D, which is another one by Steve Beach, and again has that sort of album cover art, with that sort of like, you know, it kind of reminds me of your you know, your classic sort of fantasy artists like Cam Kennedy, Ian Kennedy, all of the, you know, Frazetta, that sort of vibe basically, and that's the kind of vibe I'm getting with these Steve Beach covers. More Kiss Than Queen, says Bad Wolf Media. Yes, absolutely, for sure. I think I said it just had that vibe for me back before when I first saw that one of all their heads. But yeah, it's pretty obvious, isn't it, that it's definitely more Kiss Than Queen on that particular cover for sure. And then of course we have this cover, which is a blank sketch cover E. Is it really even worth going into detail about this one? What a lovely use of nothing. There you go. This comic also comes with a 6-inch vinyl of Silence, 7-inch vinyl of Silence. I want to say 6-inch. It's a 7-inch vinyl of Silence, just recorded Silence. That would be great. Couch Boy says, wish G.I. Joe had live action shows, films, cartoons. A Dreadnoks cartoon would be amazing. We need media that is not in book form. Yeah, it'd be nice to get some stuff for sure. Jedi Ben says they really went deep with this Cold Slither push. They did, very much so. Anyway, there you go. That's all the information from Cold Slither. Now, the other bit of comics news, courtesy of Rising Sun Comics. Shout out to Rising Sun. Shout out to Hawk of Rising Sun Comics, who made this post earlier in the week. Now, this what we're about to see now is, if you're of the uninitiated, back in the day, there were obviously comic packs, and this was a cancelled comic issue that was going to come with a comic pack in 2009, that would have featured an Arctic Scarlet and an Arctic Cobra Commander. We had a lot of these kind of 4-inch modern 2-packs, following the kind of like 3 3/4 like 3-pack comic packs that did really well when the 25th anniversary kind of kicked into gear. They continued doing comic packs, but for those 4-inch figures. And basically, this one they never made it. But I will say, one, Scarlet didn't come out, but the club did eventually get to Arctic Cobra Commander in like 2017, I want to say. It was for the figure subscription service, I think 7, and we did actually get an Arctic Cobra Commander in this very style with a long jacket. The only difference being they gave the Cobra Commander figure a blue Cobra sigil and a blue stripe on his helmet, rather than the red sigil, basically, which I think is an interesting way to go. But this issue was fully formed, basically, and this is what Hawk had to say regarding it. Now, this was an issue story, Cold Comfort. It was a Resolute comics issue, so it would have been related to the G.I. Joe Resolute storyline, characters, etc., etc. It was written by Larry Hama. It wasn't. This has been out, Bad Wolf Media. It's just been reposted again. So I'll get to that detail in a second. So basically, like I said, it's called Cold Comfort. It was a Resolute's comic issue. It was Larry Hama written issue. Pencils by Diego Jordan Pereira. Colors by Miguel S. Marque de Silva. Now, this issue was planned for release in a 2009 comic pack featuring Arctic versions of Scarlet and Cobra Commander. The comic pack was cancelled. A preview was shared at comicmix.com to promote the DVD release of G.I. Joe Resolute. So it's not the first time it's been seen, but it was only a preview. I don't think the entire issue was shown. And basically what he's posted here, you'll find the color pages of the whole story in an article for the New Collectors Club. I interviewed the letterer for the books, and then I think that's it pretty much. So massive shout out to Hawk at Rising Sun Comics. Now, he's probably posted this obviously off the back of, or reposted it off the back of the fact that the Snowcat came out, Arctic related themes and what have you. It could also just be the case that this is when he ended up getting all of the panels for it all. And we posted this on our socials. I'm going to go through it relatively briefly with you guys here. This is, I imagine, the cover, based on the fact that there's a bit of space on the top for the logos and everything, and it kind of makes sense to be the cover art. This actually happens in the actual issue as well, and it just makes sense. So this is the cover. Now, there's no letters, there's no dialogue in this. This is just the artwork. So there would have been speech bubbles and dialogue and what have you, but it effectively turns into this really cool silent issue that we end up with here. So we start off with Cobra Commander trudging through this Arctic base tunnel. You can tell it's Arctic base. They've got the kind of the steam, not steam, but like the breath coming out of the mouth of the Televiper there, kind of cold breath coming out. You got all of those like icicles hanging from the ceiling and the cables. And it's a snow serpent at Televiper and Cobra Commander. They're walking through this tunnel. They come to the big doors that are opening in this kind of like James Bond-esque Arctic base. And then they come into the kind of big open space with all the Televipers, and one of the Televipers points out to Cobra Commander that a polar bear is kind of like nearing the base entrance or something along those lines. Cobra Commander and the Snow Serpent look at each other kind of in a confused manner. I assume you can't really see their face, can you? Mark says there's a cover with the logo, etc. exists out there too. I think I've actually seen it. I think I've seen it with the logos and everything. But yeah, thank you, Mark. So following this kind of this situation where the polar bear is walking up to this base, and also this is kind of fun, the fact we've got a polar bear in the in the run now with Snake Eyes and the polar bear set. We can kind of play out this sort of you can actually play out this really, really closely by taking the head off the polar bear at one point as well. We'll get to that in a second. Anyway, the next panel you see is Duke and Mainframe, and you can tell it's Mainframe because his helmet is on the table. So if you're not, when I first looked at it, I'm like, who's that supposed to be? Is it like a breaker, or is it a can't think of his friggin' Sparks or High Tech or something like that? Are they trying to get a bit kind of crazy with it? No, it's Mainframe. His helmet's on the table. And they're in their base, obviously lit completely differently, in reds as well, which I find interesting. Or almost like they're looking at it like heat map, satellite style, to see the progress of this polar bear. So it's kind of interesting. Why are they keeping an eye on this polar bear at this Cobra installation? Maybe they're just looking at the Cobra installation, but obviously the plot thickens. So this polar bear is approaching, kind of scratches away at the what is effectively like maybe the top of the dome of where it's at, or like just an entrance, and it scritches away and it reveals a little kind of hatch handle sort of scenario. Televiper and Cobra Commander look quite shocked at this, and Cobra Commander sends out a team of Snow Serpents to deal with it, to go and see what the hell's going on. Probably, maybe even to shoo the polar bear away. As they get to the entrance, they realize that the actual lid is open, and obviously no one passed them in the tunnel, so what the hell happened? So they get to the entrance, they see that it's open, they pop their head out, they see the polar bear, which kind of is standing there, kind of ignoring them a little bit. They look at each other, and they probably go, well, we'll have to have a look around because I can't see anyone who open this and what have you. I probably would have left someone behind just to kind of like make sure no one, did the old flank and sneak around the back sort of maneuver, but they're not the most intelligent. They go off into the distance. Polar Bear watches them. Then you see Cobra Commander and the Televiper sort of like screaming at each other. Cobra Commander seems to be incensed. Maybe they're seeing what the Polar Bear's doing after the Snow Serpents have buggered off. But then you see Duke and Mainframe sort of like reacting themselves. You see the two kind of reactions from both leaders here in this scenario, and I kind of like this. I kind of like that sort of like a mirror image almost on the panels. By the way, I've got to admit, I'm not a massive fan of some of the comics that were some of the original comics that were in the figure packs, but this one is actually really good. I think it's fun, and like there's a nice little interesting story, and it actually works as a silent issue in a weird way. So anyway, they cut the Snow Serpents return to the hatch, or they find another open hatch. I think they're returning to the same hatch personally. It's hard to say exactly, but they see that the hatch is open, the Polar Bear's gone, but look inside. Scarlet and Snowjob have infiltrated. In fact, they went into that hole as a polar bear, which I find hilarious. Like, how the hell did that thing fit through that hole? Because they're inside getting de-polar beared, if you know what I mean. But in any case, the funny thing for me is that they just kind of just hossed in there head first in there, and they got in there anyway. They're de-polar bearing. Scarlet was the head, and it looked like Snowjob was the butt of the polar bear. Anyway, they go rushing down the tunnel to basically cause absolute carnage. They get to the doors, the kind of big hangar door things, to go into that kind of main section of I guess it's sort of like I guess it's a terradrome, isn't it? Effectively, that's what it is. It's like just a terradrome covered in ice and snow. Anyway, they get in there. Scarlet throws a grenade, blows up, causes all sorts of mayhem. Snowjob starts opening up and taking people out. It's actually proper violent at this point, because you see that Televiper that's just on fire, and Cobra Commander's looking at him like, nothing I can do, mate. And then you see Snowjob just kind of absolutely unleashing hell, and that's Televiper in the bottom left-hand corner just kind of going like that. It's like really, it's kind of like harsh and sad. Anyway, Scarlet comes running over to Cobra Commander, who is getting in a fire bat, so that's why you know it's a terradrome. It does sound like the kind of mission planning the Joes would do, doesn't it? You said the panel looks like Scarlet and Shipwreck. You say no? I think it's Frost. I think it's Snowjob. You see him later on, and it's 100. I mean, it's got like the red in the beard and everything. It's just not very clear in some of the images. Is the weekly story time live now? Not sure I recall Chris 80 reading me a book before. It's like Story Corner Saturday at the library. You get all sorts on this show, Couch Boy. Open a can of firefight. Indeed. I want the Tinkerbell sound effect as Chris turns the page. I should have done that, shouldn't I? WJ says, my G.I. Joe base display has a lot of Arctic animals. I assume it's in Alaska. Nice one. Anyway, so the fire bats, he's trying to get the fire bat going. It was a Trojan polar bear, Carlos. Yes, indeed. Scarlet jumps on it and grabs hold of it as he's about to launch and causes all sorts of carnage here as well. I'm not sure how. I suppose like just punching him in the head and messing with him has kind of made him drag the joystick all over the place. And the fire bat just starts veering all over the place. Really kind of crazy, cool stuff. And it ends up going straight down the tunnel, like that entrance, going out the entrance, down the tunnel. And Snowjob's just like, oh, see you then, take care. So that goes like screeching through the tube. And as you can see, Scarlet and Cobra Commander she pulls him out of the fire bat as it just like explodes into another kind of section of the terradrome. I didn't do the Tinkerbell noise. And as you can, I love this shot here of Mainframe and Duke looking away from the screen as if, because they're looking at like heat sensitive, like a heat sensitive kind of signature map sort of thing, of satellite map sort of thing. So as the explosion that goes off, obviously it's flashed and made a bit of a bright you know, kind of like a whoa. So they've looked away from the screen. I quite like that. Nice little touch, nice little details here. Bad Wolf says, "Oh, it's absolutely snow job. Just the depolarizing panel. I like it. Looks like shipwreck. Thanks to Figure Six Pack for the terminology. Thank you, Figure Six Pack, as well for depolarizing joke." And then we see that Snowjob is pinned down in the Terradrome. The Snow Serpents have kind of got the upper hand, and he's hiding behind a little kind of computer segment control panel. One of the Snow Serpents turns to the Televiper, and he's kind of like, I'm not sure if he's telling the Televiper to open the doors, but he presses the buttons and the dome starts to open, obviously causing all of the ice around it to crack and the snow to kind of be revealed. And that gives Snowjob the opportunity to just sneak out one of the cracks and try and leg it. And of course, the explosions, of course, and all the damage that's happening is getting bigger and obviously going to be taking over the entire base at some point. You can actually see it's multiple structures connected. So it's probably like multiple Terradromes connected to each other, or a Terradrome, like maybe like a from the image from the Joe headquarters, it looks like they've kind of devised some sort of maybe super Terradrome, or maybe it's Terradrome with two smaller structures just attached to it, and maybe those smaller structures are things like, well, actually one of them doesn't look smaller, does it? It could be that one of them is, like I was going to say, like kind of like, you know, just an extra place for fuel, ammunition, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. You should go back doing this for every book. This beats reading. Hardest part of Joe Media is it has to be read to be gotten. I like to have it told to me. Read it all to me. Okay, Couchboy, we'll do that, shall we? A regular polar bear is scary enough, WJ. Not let alone one that's got Scarlet and Snowjob inside it, Kitty said. Yeah, so obviously it's all kicking off inside. Scarlet and Cobra Commander are a bit further away, so they're in the danger zone. As the explosions are going off, it's taking out the electricity, so it all goes dark in the tunnel that they're in. And then this is a really cool panel as well. And again, I really like the storytelling and why it makes sense for it actually, and why it works as a silent issue. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be completely silent. I have a feeling there should be dialogue in there. There was a letterer involved in this, so I would be very surprised if there wasn't actual speech bubbles and all sorts of stuff in there. But it's also worked so well visually. Like they could have got away with this being a silent issue. Anyway, Super Terradrome like Super Walmart. Yes, Slave, indeed. Hello, Joe. So yeah, so Cobra Commander, every time he fires his pistol now to try and hit Scarlet, it lights the room up and shows him where she is, and then he moves to shoot her again and she's in a different place, moves to shoot again and she's come closer, and she just kind of, obviously, you know, that's a really fun little panel. I like that a lot. And then we go back to see what Snowjob's up to, and as you can see very clearly, this is Snowjob here. All the gear, the set, you know, like the secondary, whatever you want to call it, everything about this is Snowjob now, and you can see very clearly he's got that red in his beard. Paul says, "Man, this just makes me really appreciate the art in Skybound's books even more." Do you know what? I get what you're saying. There is definitely at the time I wouldn't have really noticed, but comic art for Joe especially has evolved, hasn't it? Because I'll go back to the start of the IDW run and look at that, and I'll kind of think, yeah, I'm just expecting it to be a certain way, and it's like completely, like it's way like far removed from what we're getting in Skybound now. And I'm not saying like it's bad or whatever, but there's definitely an evolution of where it's kind of come from. Mark says it was definitely intended to be lettered, and several pages are online with speech bubbles, but interesting to figure out the plot without any text. Yes, thank you, Mark. Again, I don't think I've seen any of the other. I think I've seen the cover. I don't think I've seen any of the other panels with speech bubbles. I don't think, or it's been so long anyway. Whenever this was doing the rounds the first time, it would have been back in it would have been back in like what 20. Whenever the DVD came out for Resolute, excuse me. But yeah, it was interesting because like the kind of the current run didn't have the same. The current run was a higher quality, I would say, than the comic pack comics. Like I said, I wasn't a massive fan of some of the comic pack comics. They're not the best quality, but there were some good ones in there. This one would have been a good one, I think, for me, and I quite like the art in this one actually. But I get what you're saying, Paul. Like there is a market difference, 100%. So anyway, Snow Job is on trying to get away from the snow serpents and everyone else, actually, because a couple of other different kind of characters are start showing up in a little while. But the snow serpents like dive on him. That as they land on the ground, basically they're on a fissure and it breaks, and then they go through the ice or the snow, and Snow Job is able to grab onto like a bit sticking out, and the other three fall to their presumed deaths or to their safety. They could fall, land in snow, and just be like, okay, well, I guess we just have to hook it out of there here on foot. But they're probably a good distance from the blast radius now. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm just going to say they probably died. Bad Wolf Media says, I'm not an industry expert, just an old school comic fan, but I think it's a fair rule of thumb to say you should be able to tell a story through visuals without the text dialogue. It's a visual medium. I agree to some degree. Some things are harder to portray, and there's also time limitations on these things as well, like deadlines and what have you. And sometimes it's like, how are we going to tell this? How are we going to best explain what is going on in this particular scenario? But yeah, I totally agree with you. I think, yeah, you should be able to, they should all be you should all be able to kind of more or less work out what's going on basically in a storyline. And sometimes this is what I'm going to say now, sometimes it'll help when you don't have the dialogue, because it forces you to make more decisions about what's going on visually. It forces you to try and logically explain things away. Whereas if you're just reading it, I've missed stuff reading it as well, because sometimes the words aren't being processed quick enough in my head, or I'm kind of a little checked out. Like maybe the issue isn't very good. And so, or maybe there's too much text. That can get confusing. I agree with you though. I think, yeah, you should be able to take the dialogue out and know what's going on. But I love the fact that this is smooth. Like I looked once when I looked at it and I looked at the panels and I kind of followed along and really got in there. I feel like I got a very strong sense of what was going on, as opposed to sometimes when you'll be like, what the hell's going on here? There's definitely panels, even in like silent issues specifically, where you have to kind of go, what are they doing here? And then someone will say, I think this is it. And you'll go, oh yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah. So, but I agree with you, Bad Wolf, on that one. These comics are so awesome, makes me wish for a cartoon so much. I know, Joe. Couchboy says, I'd say silent issues are far from lazy if the story comes across. If you comprehend the story with no words and the person drawing tells words visually, that's hard work. It's not easy. I will say it's not easy for it. Like certain artists can tell stories. Certain artists are absolutely stunning art. They can make incredible art and they can draw beautiful, beautiful covers, but they can't necessarily, or their strengths don't lie in their storytelling. And then there are other artists where their strengths are completely 100% storytelling. So there's definitely, it's an art in itself, I think. It's not like as easy as I think people make or think it is. But I think I also agree with what was being said before by Bad Wolf about if you're doing this medium, it should be able to tell the story. And I agree with you. You don't want to be confusing people, even with or without dialogue. Because again, go back to some of the early IDW issues, not even Marvel, but the early IDW run. And there are times when even the dialogue isn't helping me out with some of the things that are happening. But that's like, again, that developed over time. And I think I got to a point where I was really enjoying the IDW series. It was had its kind of peaks and troughs for sure. Certainly wasn't as consistent as what Skybound are at the moment, but it's early days at the moment. And you obviously, I imagine it to keep going the way it's going, but we'll have to see, won't we, over a longer period of time. Squishy says those troopers had parachutes. The bad guys always have parachutes. Good point. So they're alive. So continuing on through this issue, now we switch back to Scarlet having a fight with Cobra Commander in the crumbling danger zone that they're in at the moment of the Technodrome kind of tunnel. And Scarlet notices that the roof is caving in. You can see a light kind of coming through as well. So you know that they're kind of going to get an opportunity to probably escape at some point. But as the kind of roof is going to giving way, she grabs one of the girders, slams it into place. And then you see Cobra Commander looking at her with a pipe. And she looks at him with a kind of like a, a weird expression, like, is she actually expecting him to hit her? But if he does, then maybe the roof collapses and they both die. But you don't know what happens necessarily at this moment, whether he's going to swing at her or if he's going to help her. I think you know where this is going. So anyway, Snowjob pulls himself out of that near-death experience, and running towards him, he thinks, are snow serpents, ice vipers, specifically the Redeco ice viper with the camo, I think, or there might just be a regular ice viper, and I think an AVAC, and I think it's one of the AVACs, the Redecos from around that period, running past him. Obviously, to insinuate maybe there would have been an AVAC on site for the Terradrome for the Firebat, or it could be a Tele Viper, and I could be just reading into that a bit deeper, but it's the one between the Ice Viper and Snowjob as they're running past him. And then, of course, he kind of realizes they're not going to fight him. He puts his fists down. The Televiper's turning around to kind of see what's happening. Snowjob turns back to the Terradrome and sees, oh yeah, it's about to like explode or fall into the ground. It's going to go bad, basically. Anyway, we swing back to what's happening with Scarlet and Cobra Commander. It looks as though Cobra Commander decided to help her rather than doom them both. And then she pulls out her crossbow. She fires the cable, and she's going to just escape herself. Although I don't know, give her some credit. I think she was maybe going to help Cobra Commander, but then you see this like ember, this fiery ember, sort of falling towards Cobra Commander, and just in the corner of that, not in the side, just the side of that panel, and it catches fire and hits him. It hits close to him. Everything goes up in flames as this like Terradrome is kind of like slowly exploding. And he jumps and grabs her. She kicks him in the face, trying to escape. She looks back down to see him on the ground and is kind of like regretting that move rather than, leaving him to die. She decides to save him. So she shoots the, where she's standing at the top, she shoots the crossbow bolt into his collar, which I still can't believe worked. Wraps it round this kind of big, huge ice spike, does like a ninja swing to pull him like out and pull him up to safety. They escape together. The Televiper sees that and it alerts the snow serpents. And as Cobra Commander and Scarlet escape from the crumbling Terradrome, the wolves descend. And this is where we see the Cobra multiple wolves, the wolves. And then as they get there, Cobra Commander obviously just says, "No, kill her, shoot her, take her out." She starts to get her ninja shuriken off her wrist gauntlet, just ready to start a fight. He's looking at his collar with the hole in it. And then just as the wolves, I guess, are about to take her out, explosions, and of course the polar battle bear turns up. And I think it is Frostbite and Snowjob. Obviously it's Snowjob, but I think it's Frostbite as well. And another grenade is thrown that takes out one of the Cobra wolves, and that's it. That's the scene as Cobra Commander is doing that, shaking his fists as they escape on the polar battle bear. And isn't that a lot of fun? I know, yes, that turned into story time with Chris there, and I apologize. But I wanted to kind of go through it with you guys and talk it through because, like I said, I kind of found it super fun, that issue. Lots of fun, lots of interesting sort of like little story points, a couple of tropes obviously thrown in there, the kind of like the good overcoming Scarlet to save Cobra Commander, even though she's probably doomed the world to even more terror by keeping him alive. But that's the sort of moral seesaw they go through, isn't it, I guess. But very cool. Again, like, I really like the fact that, you know, we were going to get an Arctic Scarlet. I don't think we got any sort of Arctic Scarlet like that in the line, did we? We got Scarlet with the battle pack, but it wasn't Arctic Scarlet. We got an Arctic Duke in Resolute. I don't think we got Scarlet. Can someone let me know if I'm misremembering there? But I don't recall getting Arctic Scarlet for Resolute in the modern 4-inch. That said, we did get Cobra Commander. We did get Cobra Commander in the FSS 7. And like I said before, it was a hang on, there you go. It was a blue sigil that they gave him, but that was the Arctic Cobra Commander that came out, that would have been part of this comic issue, obviously, I imagine, with a red sigil, to more mimic what was in that comic. But the club decided to do the Cobra Commander Arctic version with blue on the on all the kind of like accents on the belt and on the stripe on the helmet. But very cool indeed. And that is all she wrote on that one. I think it would be a great figure in Classified for sure. So yeah, Mark says the Scarlet wasn't officially released, but images exist of the figure that would have been released. Thank you very much for that, Mark, as well. So there you go. Now, what else was I going to say? Just a bit of fun, really, on that one. And again, like a really cool trip down memory lane for 09 as well, for 2009. And the comic packs, which, like I said, were kind of, I loved them as collectibles. And like I said, some of the issues weren't the best. Mark, you're in the chat at the moment. Did I send you one of those issues recently? Didn't you have recently, like 5 years ago? Was one of them, was it the Eels based one? Eels up inside you? I can't remember, but there was one I'm sure I sent you from the comic packs just as the issue on alone that you managed to get, but they wouldn't send to the UK, so I had to do it for you. Is that right? I can't remember the details on that one. Shelf presents, my dial tone just arrived. Congratulations. That's a long wait, wasn't it? Oh, it was the Pilot Scarlet mold with the different color palette. Thank you, Figure Six Pack. So she did make it out because she was in that SDCCCCCCC Transformers crossover, right? Or was she also available as Pilot Scarlet in general? Yojo has Scarlet version 4, 3 3/4 with skis. This would have been 4-inch though, wouldn't it? I'll have to have a look at that one. Yojo Scarlet. Did you say V4? Did you say V4? Oh, it was a prototype only. Okay, cool. Anyway, excited for up and coming Snow Joes. Ice, Ice Baby, love autumn. Pilot only, says Joe. Okay, cool. Pilot Scarlet was with Power Glide. Yeah, the SDCCC crossover set. We never received an Arctic Scarlet. We never did, Slave. No. What I did like the Arctic Scarlet, the white kind of like ghee Scarlet that came in the comic pack for the 3 3/4. But yeah, anyway, that is all she wrote on this particular chapter. So we'll be talking about another. No, we'll be doing another story next week. I don't think that'll be happening. In any case, that's the comics news this week. Next up, and we'll start with, oh yeah, an interesting bit of news that popped up. We're not getting into Classified just yet, but we will do. An interesting story popped up this week, which isn't really a story at all, but let's get into it and I'll explain later. Is Hasbro, not is Hasbro, well, I suppose both works, isn't it? Hasbro, are they moving? Because for the longest time, we have been waiting for this kind of information as to what's actually going on with Hasbro. Now, this is one of those things where it's news that isn't really news as well, but I wanted to talk about it because obviously it's related, and I won't go on for ages about this, but I wanted to get into some of the little details regarding this sort of not story, because effectively that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a story that's been ongoing for a long period of time. Obviously, things have happened to prevent an answer regarding whether they're moving out of their Pawtucket residence or not, and going to Boston, which is like what everyone's expecting to happen. Now, it says the story was from WPRI.com, WPRI 12, which I've posted on our socials as well, so shout out to them. And it says Hasbro executives are keeping Rhode Island leaders in the dark as speculation intensifies that the toy maker is preparing to announce a decision on whether it will relocate its headquarters. Now, they actually said that they were going to be telling their workforce, and they were going to be coming up with a decision in the summer. We're slowly creeping out of that now. And obviously, tariffs obviously is a big thing here. That was obviously a huge spanner or wrench in the works, wasn't it? To kind of like prevent any sort of answer or decision being made. The huge losses that they were going through as well, regards before the tariffs even kind of kicked in, kind of poor financial quarters, sort of like a switch from their original plan under the previous CEO, Brian Goldner, which was going into an entertainment direction, and then Chris Cox, who took over after Brian passed away. Chris Cox has kind of then taken it more towards digital gaming, or wants to, and it really hasn't they haven't really moved the needle yet. It's been a while yet. Chris, what are your sources telling you about it? Well, unfortunately, nothing, Jedi Ben. My sources here are WPRI 12. Like, that's where I'm getting all my information about this, because nobody knows, other than obviously the exec level. And it's not like I'm going out hanging out with Cox and the execs. Do you know what I mean? Could you imagine? God, no. Anyway, anywho, the story says that the global entertainment conglomerate, I like that, not anymore though, is it really? As in entertainment, they're trying to get away from that, has kept state and local leaders guessing about its future for months. Following years of internal discussions about new headquarters, the company has been based in Pawtucket for more than a century. Massachusetts leaders have lobbied hard to lure the company, along with its hundreds of jobs and market cap of $11.2 billion, north to the Boston area. The possibility of the company's departure for Greater Boston first came to light nearly a year ago. Interesting. WJ says Chris should be fired. Me? Or I hope you mean the other one. Otherwise, I feel really, wow, that's so harsh. Anyway, Chris Cox initially told his staff he'd share plans about any potential move by spring. That's been and gone. But the tariffs delayed the decision, obviously, since Hasbro has significant exposure to import taxes and has to navigate the shifts in federal policy. In April, a company spokesperson said Hasbro leaders were making progress on nailing down a final decision about its headquarters, with clarity expected by this summer. That was the last bit of information we had. Nothing yet. Governor Dan McKee, Pawtucket Mayor Donald Grebian, and other local and state leaders have tried to keep conversations going with Cox to have him stay put in Rhode Island. On July 29th, Pawtucket leaders wrote a letter to Cox reiterating they were ready, willing, and able to work with the company on its timeline. They also requested a meeting with Hasbro officials to discuss next steps. They got ghosted straight up. They did not return they just did not respond. And that's led to Grebian saying, I know they're a private company, but we have been partners here and been committed to them all these years. So not hearing anything is disheartening, he said. I'm not trying to be rude, but I want to respect them and they can do what they want, but there's really no reason they should leave Pawtucket and the state of Rhode Island, he added. And then McKee told 12 News on Friday he hadn't talked to Cox since around the time former Hasbro CEO Alan Hassenfeld died on July the 9th. Rest in peace, Alan. The governor also said he didn't know when an announcement might happen, saying they haven't shared that with me. We've done everything we can to keep them here, McKee said. If they decide to leave, we'll wish them well. it's crazy, honestly, that we still haven't got an answer. But I guess the not answer is that they're probably not moving, right? Yet. I would imagine we're dealing with a situation where, because I'm an expert on this, obviously, is that they are just delaying until they're in a better position to move. Otherwise, they're just staying put. So I think that's technically Bad Wolf Media says, this isn't a knock, Chris, just a humorous comment. But in journalism, there's a rule that if your headline ends in a question mark, the answer is no. Exactly. And that is, I know it's not a knock, but I do it on purpose too. It's not like this is clickbait. You're on, like, this is like the image I'm just using for what I'm talking about. It's not like I did an actual story about this in the week. Hanging out with Cox would be a Cinemax series. Even Dunder Mifflin was sold to a toilet paper news company. That's what she said. Thank you, Couchboy. WJ says, I'm fine. Thank goodness. I thought you were firing me. Josh B says, this is a good point as well. Anytime Hasbro wants to cut its workforce, they bring up moving. This isn't the first time and won't be the last. Totally agree with you. They are still at 1027, yes. Hasbro execs with the silent issues, exactly. Left on red, Blitz. Sorry, Figure Six Pack, he said the silent issues one. That was cool. Mark says, better than Cox hanging out, I guess. True. Or is it, though? If you were staying, you would just say it. Also, if you were moving, it would happen. So we're in this like limbo still, aren't we? I fully assume that the moving to Boston thing is something that they want to do. It's something that Chris Cox probably almost certainly wants to do. He's even said it himself in interviews and what have you. They want to do that, right? Whether it happens or not is a completely different thing entirely. It's going to require a lot of logistical nightmares. They're probably going to have to, get that going and moving and then move into it once it's done. So it's going to be one of those crossover scenarios where it's not just the thing where they're going to go, right, we're moving, we're going to build, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. They're going to have to set up an HQ, whether that means building it or moving into a building and renovating it. It's still a lot of work. So it's not something that's going to be done quickly, I don't think, personally. And then they've got to obviously transfer everything from Pawtucket over to the new establishment. I imagine they'll be moving other elements out of the area too. I know I want to say they've got warehouses, they've got older buildings that are still theirs in the area as well. They'll probably want to move stuff too. So again, I think it's one of those things where they want to do it and they might even do it, eventually. But at the moment, there are too many things in the way to deny them from doing that. So I feel like they're just it's one of those things as well. They're probably keeping it open-ended so that they've got the ability to change, to move, to do what they need to in a short period of time or shorter period of time. But this ain't something that's going to be easily just done. And it's going to be expensive as well. Like, it's going to be a lot of money. So who knows? In any case, we'll keep you up to date with any of the news that comes out of this story. But at the moment, as I said jokingly at the beginning, it's sort of one of those situations where there is no news. It's just what's happening. There hasn't been anything said. The news is that they're trying to reach out, as in Pawtucket, the leaders, the Rhode Island and Pawtucket leaders are trying to reach out to Hasbro and are not getting any response. Which is a bit harsh, but that's what's happening. In any case, more on this later. Let's move on to the next news story, which is, I think, way more fun because it's just about, well, it won't be initially. Let's just get into the pricing. Right then. So, yes, we've got classified updates, and this is all, lots of different things going on here. We'll start, though, with the bad news, as I always do. If you notice that, I'll start with the bad and end on a high. That's my aim with this show. Now, Toy News International, shout out to Toy News Toy Newsy, as I call them all the time in my head, and Jay Cochran. They posted a story regarding price increases being like rumored for, well, not rumored for some, but rumored for others. I think Marvel Legends, it was $27.99, and the assumption, I believe, going on here, unless there is more information that they have as well. Again, they will have sources that I won't, and I couldn't get any confirmation about this, by the way. So I'm not saying that doesn't mean anything, by the way. Just because I couldn't get confirmation about it means nothing. I've got confirmation. I've struggled to get confirmation in the past on things that everyone has had information to. So yeah, so I'm not saying that's anything to go by. All I'm saying is that I can't confirm personally. The show Full Force cannot confirm that the classified series is going up in price, but the story is, and most of the time it does turn out to be the case. It sounds like there's going to be a price increase on G.I. Joe classified series as well as Black series, and we already know the Marvel Legends has that increase applied to it, right? So yes, Couchboy, I think that's right. 19.99 originally, then 22.99, then 24.99, soon to be 27. It's been stuck on. I say stuck on. It's been at 24.99 for the longest time, I think. Now it went up shortly after 19.99. I think going into the next year, didn't it? I think it was like a yearly increase to 22.99, and then again another yearly increase to 24.99, and then it sat there for a long time. I think people were expecting it to go up, and it never did. So yeah, so it's been good that it's been at 24.99 for the longest period of time, but it might be going up to 27.99. And again, I say it might be for classified series. We don't know yet, but like I said, it's not like Toy News International are they're like I said, a reputable, commendable channel. So it's not like they're going to just post crap. We've all reported and posted stuff and all sorts of that stuff that has not come true. We'll obviously preface that a lot of the time with this is speculative, or we don't know exactly yet, but this is the likelihood. So in this sense, this is what we're dealing with. The price increase is speculative at the moment, but is looking likely. So and the fact that I haven't been able to get confirmation from official channels does suggest that usually does mean that sometimes they'll just be like, to put like a to quash it, basically they'll say, oh no, that's not true. But if it is, then they can't talk about it. Then that's usually what the thing is. So it's like confirmation without confirmation. Do you know what I mean? Real Zim says the prices for the latest pre-orders are now $27.99 on Amazon. So again, like that is a very telling scenario, isn't it? But Real Zim, does that mean it's going to happen on Pulse? Is the question here. Most likely, yes. So we'll have to see how it goes. But that could be also Amazon having to pad prices as well. Do you know what I mean? So in any case, we'll have this is a wait and see scenario. But we could, like, I would say brace yourselves for a price increase, and whatever that means, go from there, sort of thing. And Josh B says they can't keep Joe's at $24.99 because they are afraid people would leave the other lines. That is why all 6-inch lines will be the same price. I guess there's some people that buy everything or flip-flop between different things, but I don't know. I'm Joe hardcore. Like I used to be a Black Series and Marvel Legends collector, but then it just got ridiculous, obviously. So I had to make a decision, and classified on its own is more than enough to satiate my need for collecting, and also is kind of a ridiculous line. But yeah, so it's changed on GameStop and Amazon and what have you. So the likelihood is that those prices are going up. We'll have to see, won't we? But it's likely going to happen. So brace yourselves is what I'll say on this one. Is it obviously really crap news? Yes. Is it like the result of the current situation? Almost 100% certainly. This is what happens, and this is the price that we pay for what's going on in the world right now. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So sucks. And Hasbro, as a company, a corporation, $1 billion corporation, multi-billion dollar corporation, are going to do everything in their power to make sure that they continue to make crap tons of money, and keep making more crap tons of money. And it's always really about the shareholders, which sucks, but is the reality of the universe, unfortunately. If we like this stuff and we keep purchasing it, that's what's going to happen. I suppose we could stop purchasing it, but then also we're also shooting ourselves in the foot then as well, aren't we? It's a lose-lose scenario for collectors at the end of the day. We either spend the extreme amounts of money on this stuff that we enjoy and love, or we don't, because it's, too much, and then it stops happening. I don't know. Sucks, doesn't it? Jedi Ben says, "What's up with the ads popping up over the chat every couple of minutes?" I didn't know that happened, actually, Jedi Ben. Sorry. If that is the case. Anyway, Carlos says they could include a stand for every figure to go with that price increase. Actually, no, they could actually. Some people are seeing ads, some people aren't seeing ads. Don't know what that's about. My apologies if you're getting unwanted ads. There's nothing worse. But yeah, sorry about that. Right then. In any case, that's the bad news over with. Good news is US port arrivals. So we got more Budo. Obviously, this is another batch. Multiple batches of Budo have been showing up, but in the week, more Budo showed up in port, courtesy of shipping information. Desert Scorpion was another one. That's the first batch of Desert Scorpions, I believe, that we've seen in the what's the word? In the sort of new batch of shipping, I guess. But that's the first time we've seen Desert Scorpion in the shipping data. Ghost Viper with Dire, I believe, again, is a second batch. I believe GG Brooklyn has already kind of made it stateside. So yeah, expect these three to start showing up again very soon, or Budo especially, and Ghost Viper, because they again the Ghost Viper we still got pre-order, because that will be Walmart in around about October the 9th, I believe it is, around about the same time we get NYCC. So yeah, we can expect Ghost Viper pre-orders to go up around then. And who knows, there might be in stock orders at that point. It might be one of those things where it's like, rather than pre-order, it is in stock order, because they're starting to show up already. It kind of lines up nicely for that. The ads pop up on YouTube is because of adjusting the screen from full to small screen and the tilting as well. Interesting. It's just a new YT feature for those who won't pay for a premium subscription, says GL. Better than it cutting to commercial ads like cover ads over visual. Visual ads suck. Yeah, that it's not the best, is it? But anyway, sorry about that, guys. It's not kind of out of my control, unfortunately. That's just, when you get to be as big as us. That's a joke, by the way. In any case, yes, recent US port arrivals. Expect Budo very soon. Expect Ghost Viper possibly to be in stock, and expect Desert Scorpion as well very soon. Now, also, this is another nice rule of thumb. When hobby base starts showing in stock items, they're Hong Kong based, by the way, then it's usually just a couple of weeks following that we start seeing them as well. So Monkey Wrench Major Blood, I know Major Blood is showing up shortly for myself, as is the Slice and Dice 2-pack, as is the Ore Striker, and I think the 2-pack for so I think all of these are showing up for me as well soon. So that again tracks very nicely. So because a lot of these are already in the US port, we'll probably start seeing these showing up very soon for pre-order, like for anyone that pre-ordered them, basically. So again, I just wanted to show that because it's a nice rule of thumb. When hobby base starts showing them off, it's not long afterwards that we start getting them. Couchboy says it does beat the old sex bots. Yeah, we haven't had a naked HD in a long, long time, have we? But anyway, they probably just thought, well, we're not gaining any traction here. We're getting too much of a shout out on the show. That's all. What's up with the cop? Well, Couch, it's likely going to just drop as a pre-order at some point in the near future. There is a date that we have, I think it's the 1st of November for that, but that's more than likely your Amazon, GameStop, and stuff like that. Who knows who knows what they'll do about that? But it will probably go up. It'll probably go up in that sort of like a Ghost pre-order, not like the Ghost Viper though. That's a different pre-order entirely. Real Zim says Monkey Wrench is one of the best in the line, in my opinion. That wave was really good as a whole. I agree. I haven't got Monkey Wrench in hand yet, but from what I've seen, from the video reviews, from obviously when it was first revealed, I said at the time when I saw that figure in the promo images, I said this is going to be people's top fives of the year for sure, and I think he will be. He'll probably be in mine unless they churn out another absolute banger. I mean, like Pythona looks like she's going to be in my top five. Who else? I think maybe even that Snake Eyes V4. That wave is solid. It really is. But we'll see. We'll see what else comes out. There's some beautiful. The Ghost Viper looks phenomenal as well. So we'll have to see what. And Budo as well. Budo might be in my top five as well. It's going to be a big top five. It's probably going to be a top 20 at this rate. Anyhow. So yes, hobby base, Hong Kong based, but there are a lot of stuff in stock at the moment for them, which means that we're going to be looking at getting all of that very soon. And I have had notifications for Blood, Monkey Wrench, the Divers, and Slice and Dice. And I want to say one of those notifications of about to get shipped for the Ore Striker. So fingers crossed that all comes in very soon. What else was I going to say? I think that's it for that. Now Hasbro have announced their New York Comic Con appearance or panels for New York Comic Con on October the 9th to the 12th, 2025. Now, info is, because I'm not there already looking at it, because I got cocky. I said Cox so many times on today's. I wonder if that will have an impact on the episode for swear words. Yes, join us for 2 action-packed panels featuring reveals, updates, and first looks across your favorite brands, and visit us at booth 1012, 1012, or 1012. There you go. So that's their booth. Now, they've got a Star Wars and Marvel panel, if you're interested. That's on the 9th of October. That's Thursday, and that's 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern in room 408. And that will be get updates on Star Wars The Black Series, the Vintage Collection, and Marvel Legends, including exciting new product reveals. Now, the one that we're all interested in, or at least I assume we are because it's a G.I. Joe channel, is the Action Brands panel on Friday, October the 10th at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern, room 406.3. Very specific room number there. Have they just divided 406 into multiple rooms? That's probably what they've done there. So they say catch the latest from Transformers, new additions to the G.I. Joe Classified series, and Ghostbusters Kenner Classics news straight from the team. This is exactly what happened last time I went to the panel for New York Comic Con. Hopefully we'll get an invite again for that one. I imagine we will. I'd be gutted if we didn't. And yeah, that means that they combine all three together. But I think last time, I think it was Ghostbusters first, then Joe, then Transformers. It was a really good panel. And it was nice because, like, as much as I'm into the other ones, it kind of gave me some time and space to kind of enjoy just what was being shown off while I was frantically posting all the other information that was going up. Yeah, that really is an interesting show, an interesting panel, but it's a really good one. And they did a lot for Joe last time. So I imagine it's going to be a lot of good stuff to show off again this time. I imagine you might even get like Lifeline render reveals, Hit and Run, Big Lob, Iceberg, those kind of ones, the Night Viper. I'd be really surprised if we don't see more of those. And obviously more name owner reveals, of course, pre-order drops. Obviously Python will be going up on that weekend, so they'll have like promo images for Python. And then like loads of other stuff too. I'm hoping that they do have maybe some stuff on the floor too, but we'll have to see what the whole situation is, because I don't know what the deal is yet with New York Comic Con. I want to actually go and do this one, go to the actual convention. We'll see what the access is with the press on that one. I should almost certainly be at the panel. We usually do get the invite for that one, and if I don't, then I'll be sending a strongly worded memo to a number of different people if we haven't been blacklisted. I don't think we would have been, but I can't think why. Now I'm all scared. Why do I do this to myself? We'll be there, guys. Don't worry. So anyway, that is happening for Hasbro Pulse, of course. And that's the panels. Now, as well as that, NYCC, yes, Cold Slither are performing as well. They're taking the Band of Vipers tour to New York. And that's at the Gramercy Theatre. That's October the 11th. That's the following day. So 9th is panel 1 for Marvel and Star Wars. The 10th on Friday is for the main panel for Joe and all the other stuff. And then October 11th is the Gramercy Theatre performance from Cold Slither. Doors open at 8 p.m. That's at 127 East 23rd Street, New York, New York, 10010, which just sounds like I'm being binary there, but you know what I'm saying. So if you missed out at SDCC, now is a great opportunity, and I might have to go to that as well, right? It would be kind of bad if I didn't, I think. So we'll have to see how it pans out, but knowing that the information in advance, and once I get the invite, I'll be able to start making some plans on that one. But yeah, there you go. That's pretty much it for that. Then, of course, we also have this lovely little input that Lenny posted this week as well, showing off Wetsuit. Not just the figure, but also his gear and I say some of it because it got kind of cut off, didn't it, a little bit. But again, I do love these when Lenny posts them. And again, we'll always repost these when he does this, when Tony posts the renders that we haven't seen before. Tony's been like kind of doing a bit of catch up and posting renders that obviously we've already kind of had before in the past. So I haven't necessarily been reposting them as much because it was like, you know, the Grim Viper and you know, your Wetsuit and your what were the other ones in that line? Mainframe and so on and so forth. So yeah, I haven't been reposting those, but obviously whenever the crew show us something new and different, I'm going to be all over that, trying to repost it and stuff. So thank you, Lenny, for this as well. That leads us into the usuals. So we get into the listings 2025. Still don't know who Chairface is. I'm going to remove that Mutton Junkyard because I don't think, even to this point now, I'm thinking that it might not be that, but it could be. We'll have to see, won't we? Chairface is a head scratcher still. That still don't know what it is. I imagine it will all become clear over NYCC, probably as a pre-order situation. And the unknown vehicle we can't say just yet, but I think we be getting closer to that for NYCC for sure as well. Yeah, and of course everything else is as you were. You know, everything else. Short Fuse and Steel are very likely, to be announced Target Fall Geek Out, which is happening currently, probably towards the end of Target Fall Geek Out and a bit closer to when everything else is going up for in October for Ghost Viper, for example, for Walmart, which is also expected on the 9th, and the whatever pre-orders we get for NYCC as well. So we should find out that closer the time that they're going to be revealed and up for pre-order. In any case, no changes. Same for 2026. We did reveal that Lifeline, Night Viper, Hit and Run, Big Lob, and Iceberg were those particular listings there. And of course, all of the kind of order has been thrown off because we're not 100% sure if they're going to be in the order that we're seeing them now. It could be for Iceberg because that's going to want to line up with the Snowcat, which would be towards the back end of the year next year. And that would make a lot of sense that we get that in hand around the same time as Iceberg coming out. So that just kind of makes sense. But for the other ones, not quite sure. It could be that Lifeline, Night Viper, Hit and Run, and Big Lob are a wave of figures, in which case Big Lob would slot into that Commander Feral space, if that makes sense. But that's what the listings are related to the characters that have been revealed. And again, we'll have more information and more clarity going forward when we get closer to the time, or when we get more information on the line plan as it is. So Taurus and Red Dog are the 2-pack on that side as well, and the HasLab Snowcat is Gleep. We know that. But the rest of it, it's up to you guys. It's up to you what it is. Just make it up. And then, of course, we've got an NYCC exclusive for 2026, and of course, a ton of retro. 9 retro figures. Now, we had 9 retro listings last year, and that whittled down to 8. But I imagine that we'll probably have 9 this year. We'll just have to see how they put them out. So there you go. That's everything. Like I said, the name only reveals are these: Lifeline, Hit and Run, Iceberg, Taurus and Red Dog 2-pack, Big Lob, and Night Viper. And of course, our digital renders that we have left, which is hilarious because not only is the Legacy Police Officer sort of like completely seen now with promo images and everything, it's probably likely got a pre-order drop coming. This is like what's got a pre-order drop coming, isn't it, basically, rather than digital renders. Short Fuse and Steeler we know is a Target exclusive and will probably pop up in this phase of Target Fall Geek Out. Pythona is over NYCC, and then following NYCC is going to be on Pulse. I say NYCC, but also MCM London as well, and another convention. I think there's a bunch of conventions that she's sort of being touted as an exclusive for full conventions, and then of course Pulse. And then the Ghost Viper with Dire Beasts is going to be Walmart October 9th. There you go. Or we assume October 9th because around the same time as NYCC, all right? Around that same time. Don't know exactly when yet. Chris, is the unknown vehicle at the 100 price point or different? Can't say yet, but we'll have to find. We'll find out, won't we? Basically, we'll find out. That's hilarious. Right, that's it for all the official information. Now let's get into shout outs. Not that that's unofficial, but yeah, let's move on. And let's get into it, shall we? But before we do that, let's have a word from our sponsor. And you'll be happy to know I've lowered the volume a little bit. Battle Action Force, the deluxe treasury editions. So yeah, we had a lot of comments in the group about can you turn the volume down on the commercial? It's coming in too loud. And I was like, whatever. But then I thought, no, you know what? It wasn't whatever. It was just like, I've got an opportunity to do it today. I'll do it now. So I had about 5 seconds of space to do that. And so there you go, guys. Yes, please get involved with Battle Action Force, the deluxe treasury editions. You can order these beautiful books, absolutely stunning reissues of the wonderful Battle Action Force run from back in the day, from totaltoybooks.com if you're in the UK and Europe, and of course skeletron.com if you're in the US. Go check them out, please and thank you. They're beautiful. And related to Total Toy Books, congratulations for fully funded. I don't know how that happened. Okay, what happened there? The slideshow was not how I did it. Fully funded was next to fully, but there you go. Total Action Force Volume 3, fully funded. I must have accidentally pressed return at some point or enter while I was on that page, but no, I think it's just screwed me over there massively. In any case, yes, congratulations to Total Toy Books, to Brian and Paddy for Total Action Force Volume 3 getting fully funded. It means we're going to see all of our all those amazing images, concept art, like figures that weren't released but were maybe mocked up, pictures, photographs from back in the day, loads of stuff we haven't seen before, from like personal collections from Palatoy Legends. It's absolutely going to be the most amazing like history book ever. Not just that, but also there is, if you missed out and you still want to pledge, there is a late pledge manager, so you can get, link in the description, get on that page. If you were late to the party, you can get involved, do not worry. So if you missed out and you've got massive FOMO, you can still get involved. How cool is that? There you go. Anyway, so there you go. Total Action Force Volume 3, fully funded. Congratulations to the Total Toy Books team. Absolutely couldn't be more happy about this. Cannot wait to get this in hand. It's going to be amazing. Right then. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty much that. Now, also massive shout out to Pat, my other half, usually, on obviously the weekly. And also shout out to Articulated Points and Phil as well, for basically being awesome. They've got another episode out very recently. Go check that out right this second. Who is Pat? Says IKW. He's usually my co-host on the weekly, but obviously since we had to make a time change, he's not been able to join. So hopefully we'll be able to sort that out in the future. But for right this second, you just have to deal with me on my own at the moment. In any case, massive shout out to them, and of course Articulated Points. Go check them out. Link in the description. And of course, they've got a new video out. It's awesome. Go check it out. And also, shout out to Codename Iowa, who run Assembly Required. That in-person convention is happening November 14th and 15th. Some updates are happening, so you can right this second. They have, he says, not having anything up ready to read. I always do this, don't I? There's loads of updates as well. So basically, go and visit codenameiowa.com/store now to secure your tickets and pre-orders for Assembly Required 25. There are several discounted packages available, along with 2 different gear kits to choose from this year, one Joe and one Cobra. Order now. Popular events like our Friday night group dinner typically sell out faster than a captured viper seeking clemency. So go check that out right now. And it's true. If you don't get involved on that Friday night dinner and you want to be involved in that Friday night dinner, get involved now. Otherwise, it's going to be gone. Also, what else was I going to say? Yes, the the Joe and Cobra gear kits, one of each, phenomenal. Get involved, you'll love it. And as well as that, Ron Rudat is going to be a guest of honor. So yes, I think obviously they've been announcing a few of the guests recently. Ron Rudat was announced this week. He's a toy designer, of course, an artist. You may have heard of him. Slightly instrumental in a lot of the early Joe stuff. Ron Rudat is a legend. Obviously, makes a lot of sense. And yeah, go and check him out at Assembly Required, November 14th and 15th, Des Moines, Iowa. Get involved, please and thank you. And of course, like I said, codenameiowa.com for all that information and for other wonderful elements as well. They sell lots of cool goodies. And we may have something going on with Codename Iowa soon as well. Yes, we're getting the merch talk going. So full force merch coming very soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll have all that information for you very soon. Have no fear. And massive shout out to Skeletron.com, of course. I've already shouted them out for multiple things, the deluxe treasury editions, of course, but also the wonderful Robo Skull Mark II. Go get that right this second. Toy of the Year 2024. Now, what the interesting thing with this one is that we were talking, I think, last week about them getting their sponsorship on this particular vehicle. Let me get the full information up while it's on the screen. But yeah, they actually took part in the first race as well in the week, which was amazing. So in the NASCAR Cup 76th running of Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway, it happened on like 5 days ago. I can't think of what the date was. August 31st is at 6 p.m. Eastern. And they did post how they did regarding the actual event. The qualifying, obviously, this was during qualifying, this particular image, and yeah, they did really well. We raised the rear of the car up with our adjustments to avoid any risk of dragging the track. Timmy Hill was reasonably pleased with the balance in qualifying, and we picked up nearly 2/3 of a second over practice. Nice one for those that are really into the details of the racing. But it was really cool, and obviously seeing the Skeletron logo on the bonnet of this car is phenomenal. So awesome. And like I said, yeah, they took part in that race and they did all right from what I could tell. I just can't remember. I think I think there is information. Yeah, survived one of the most grueling races on the schedule and got to the checkered flag of the Cookout Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway. Placed 35th for Timmy Hill Racer in the official Skeletron 66 with a clean car and something to build on. So they were happy with their finish. Obviously, it wasn't like right up there, but still really awesome. Carla says, I watched the race. They couldn't get any camera time. Oh, that sucks. That's a shame. Anyway, really fun, really cool, and shout out to Skeletron for getting on the bonnet of that car. Sorry, the hood of that car. Bonnet or hood, depending on where you are. There you go. Anyway, bit of fun, and there you go. That's all she wrote for this week. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us on this latest Full Force Weekly. 35th out of how many? 38. Solid. There you go. Right there. Still, again, like it's so awesome to see like the logo on the vehicle. It's so awesome. And yeah, anyway, we'll go from there. I'm going to be following this very closely. I'm going to be seeing how well they do going forward. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. I did also get I got my Night Force Beachhead and Quick Kick. I'll be doing an unboxing of that over the weekend as well. So expect that to pop up in Reels form at some point this weekend. And of course, if you're an Intel, if you're a Patreon on our Patreon page for Red Shadow Army or SAS, then I'll be doing a Q&A with you guys tomorrow on Sunday around about 3 o'clock is the aim. 3 Eastern. That's kind of what I'm trying to do now, just as a rule. It sometimes can go a bit earlier, and very often can go a bit later. So it's pretty much just any time on a Sunday. Sorry, guys. But I'll be speaking to you guys then tomorrow. And yeah, for everyone else, I'll probably see you on the next news burst. I'm hoping to get some out this week. We've got a Lenny and Tony interview being worked out as we speak in terms of like dates and timings and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully we should have that squared away and then, get that out, of course, before the convention circuit kicks off for New York Comic Con, because I kind of want to get a little interview in before then and then following that one. Although it's been really difficult getting them after cons. Obviously, I'll be able to, if I'm there, I might even be able to get to speak to them in person. That would be kind of fun as well. So we'll see how it goes, right? Right then, that's it. Thank you very much, guys, for all of the comments and all the chat. I'll see you on the next one. Stay fresh, cheese bags, and as always, after 3, you know what to do. 1, 2, 3. Full force. See you later. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. And as always, you can keep up with the show after listening by following on all of our social platforms, links in the description. And if you would like to contact the show, you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback or questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.